Good morning. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Board of Commissioners Finance and Infrastructure Committee. We are going to start this morning with public comment. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to comment. Good morning.
Grand Rising, everyone. I'm D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary. My birthday's in 3 days. Thank you, y'all. I appreciate it. So I just got back from an event in Cincinnati called Esports Travel, and it was pretty cool because you guys know I love economics and economic impact, and I'm going to read some economic data from this event. It was an esports event, and they had hotel revenue 71,000. Their Airbnb revenue was 25,000. Their visitor spending was 143,000. Then their local event ops was 180,000. On top of that, I actually got to speak to this guy named Simon Birchall, who actually has a job and career at FIFA. And FIFA is actually doing this new hybrid event where it's esports and gaming and traditional sports. And they have something called the FIFA E-Festival. And I spoke to Simon, and I was on him because I'm like, I need this esports event. The Vosses and Van Andels are building a soccer stadium. We got the ACGR soccer team. They're going to be competing in 2027. They already have somebody for the bid for 2027, but for 2028 and 2029, they're looking for a whole city. And so seeing all of the cool activations that the local soccer team now is doing, and a lot of people are popping out, I think we have a good opportunity if we can get additional investment, because it's going to be FIFA, so I'm pretty sure the price is going to be a little bit hefty, but I believe that our local billionaires, in order for them to really have a real economic impact, something that could be huge, that can benefit everyone, even them in their pocketbooks, because who doesn't like to fill their pockets with cash? But this could really ethically and equitably help everyone if we actually host this FIFA E-Festival, which will be a 6 to 7 day festival here, officially branded FIFA. That'd be crazy for Kent County. So I am trying to speak this in existence and educate y'all, because I got the guy from FIFA to actually send our sports commission the RFP, and so she's going to be checking it out. But there's going to be need for additional investment. If we can actually pull this off, this would be huge for our city. So I'm going to keep advocating. And on top of that, we're actually pre-planning the esports regional finals at the DeVos place right now. So I'm actually speaking to the TV stations, because in late October, we'll be bringing a professional esports organization. Over 2,500 gamers across the globe will be flying in, on top of bringing 50-plus schools to the DeVos place during GR Comic Con. Also having 75 young people from the Urban League being able to get access to GR Comic Con and the esports regional finals completely free. And we're going to be sure their parking is paid. So cool things coming. And thank you for the happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment this morning? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item number 3 on our agenda, special orders of business. We will start with the Grand Rapids Kent County Convention and Arena Authority. Good morning, Rich. And Rick.
Morning. And Doug. Good morning. Thank you very much for having us here. We provide a regular annual update, so we'll fly through. It's a thick deck. We will not be going through it in detail. There's a lot of information that you have. Please feel free to peruse it at your leisure, and let us know if questions either today or at a later time. Our fiscal year runs concurrent with the counties, so we just finished up our fiscal year, and another great year for the entity. We'll start with the arena recap. Fairly busy with event days. One note here, the family shows, a little down this year. We had 2 every other year family shows that did not occur in '26, Circus and Hot Wheels Monster Truck Show. I guess it also should be noticed that '25 was one of the best years that the arena's ever had. Some highlights for the arena. One item of note, Billboard, one of the industry rags that tracks the industry, has the Van Andel Arena as the 13th busiest mid-size venue in the world, number 6 in North America. So continues to really do extremely well from an industry perspective, especially a building that's now 30 years old. As I think you're aware, we've got nonprofit organizations that work in the concession stands. About $800,000 is what ended up being raised by those nonprofits. That's a significant figure. That's about the right number every year. We're very proud of that, and that actually is being extended, that concept, to the amphitheater as well as the soccer stadium. To look at the theater, big variance here is the arts groups. We had 2 extra weeks of Broadway Grand Rapids programming. Theater continues to be very, very busy. Attendance-wise, very strong. Again, that same ranking, number 3 worldwide. I think a lot of that counting goes towards the Broadway programming. The Broadway programming continues to be really, really strong in the theater. To take a look at the convention center, one item, and this is a really, to me, a very positive sign and trend, that convention trade show number being up. We're probably not quite pre-COVID numbers in that space. However, we're definitely tracking in the right direction. And I think compared to our competitive set, Doug can speak to it a little bit better, but I think we're doing really, really well relative to recovery. It's another unique component of this structure for the CAA, where we've got the different venue types, because as you can see from an attendance perspective, while we may have been down a little bit at the arena, we're up a fair bit at the convention center. Number of the events that we highlighted. We continue to be very active in the community. There's a lot of information in here relative to what we do, and this is just the highlights. This isn't all of it, so I would encourage you to take a look. We continue to do donations in the artist names. That is a highlight. We get a lot of the artists very, very pleased that instead of flowers or a jersey, that there's a donation. Our team does some homework to try and find causes that are close to the artist's heart, and we try and provide a donation to them as well as a donation to a local charity. Our community inclusion group continues to do great work. This is just a sampling of some of the folks that we've had we were able to provide assistance for. Capital upgrades at the venues continue to be important. The CAA has been very, very intentional about making sure that the buildings look great, even though the rink is now 30 years old and the convention center 20 years old. I know sustainability and accessibility were 2 items that were of key focus from the county's perspective. There's a lot of information here. A lot of this also dovetails extremely well with Legends Global's priorities right now as it relates to these items. Just a couple of nights ago, we had Jack Johnson at the amphitheater. We actually had a bike valet set up. Went very, very well. We're going to have it set up for Dave Matthews Band for tonight and tomorrow night. We'll see how it goes. It could become a regular occurrence. We're still working out some kinks, but we're very pleased with the reaction on the first night. We have, a lot of times LEED is identified as building itself. We're more interested in LEED operating and procedures. So when everything we're looking at here is more from an operational perspective, not a structure perspective. Some of the awards we've received over the years. And again, this goes into more the Legends Global structure as it relates to these items. And these are corporate programs that are being pushed throughout our portfolio. We've been pleased to hear from our corporate folks that we're actually a fair bit further ahead of most. SAGE is a certification that's kind of a next level as it relates to accessibility. We will have formal SAGE training for our staff as well, and an audit of all of our venues. We're probably going to wait and do that audit once we get the soccer stadium open so we can have all 5 done. So as I said, we're ran through this quickly. Rick is here as chair of the Convention Arena Authority. Doug, both in his role from Experience Grand Rapids, as well as Doug chaired a task force that the CAA put together pre-COVID, actually, to assess the identified need for an amphitheater and a convention hotel. So I just would like Doug to speak a little bit to what's next, and then feel free to open it up to questions.
Thank you, Rich. Happy birthday, Dee. Gives me 3 days to shop yet. I appreciate the warning. Good morning, everyone. Be very brief. As Rich mentioned, back in 2016, we did a destination asset study along with Grand Action, and 7 outcomes were the result of that study, one of which was that we are shy 1 convention hotel in order to compete with our peer set. Again, that was 2016. As Rich mentioned, the CAA put together a task force in 2018. They asked me to chair it, and we were to look at the potential, the probability, and the feasibility of a new convention hotel and what that will do for our business. We're at the point where we're hitting our heads on the ceiling. Biggest reason for lost business is dates and hotel space. So we're still in need. That was 2016. We're 10 years later. COVID derailed that. In 2019, we were ready to deliver our findings back to the CAA board to allow them to make a decision on moving forward or not, and COVID came along. So it was put on ice, if you will. The amphitheater and soccer stadium took precedent, which is great because that's allowed us also to build on our visitor economy. But I never let the CAA forget that need still existed, and our customers continue to tell us. Cincinnati, Columbus, Indianapolis, Milwaukee, and others, Raleigh, have all built hotels since COVID. So our competitive set is not standing still, and we need to make certain, not just catch up, but pass them again in moving forward. I didn't mention Detroit. Detroit's building a JW Marriott right now and plans for a second hotel after that. So we're back on track at least to take a look at this again. We're hopeful. Our customer advisory board told us a month ago it's needed, and I'm willing and able to help with Rich and the CAA in order to do what we need to do to allow us to keep competitive. As you're well aware, the lodging excise tax is needed to continue to pay those bonds that give us the wonderful facilities that not only we enjoy as residents, but our visitors enjoy very much. And our occupancy shows it when those visitors are in town to experience those venues. So we'll look forward to the continued progress of this project, and I'm willing to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you for the presentation. There's a lot of information still in that presentation that you guys can mull over as well. Are there any questions or comments? Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'm looking at these 3 powerhouses that I know. I've known each of you more than 25 years. I don't know if you've ever thought about that. There's no reason probably to think about that. But the one thing I can tell you, well, there's many things, but you all have been so consistent. You've been consistently making sure that Kent County looks good. And I'm so thankful to have each and every one of you over the venues that you're over. Rich, I remember when, this is probably about maybe 10 years ago, we were talking about how there were no acts downtown that were people of color. And you got in there, and that's what we see now. We see diversity, we see people downtown of different backgrounds, ethnicities. So thank you for listening, and I think it's been lucrative, you know. I thank you for that, and that means a lot to me because I've watched this unfold. So you stayed the course. So, Doug, I remember when you came in Grand Rapids and we hired you here, and you immediately, unapologetically changed the name from the Visitor and Convention Bureau, some boring name, yeah, to Experience GR. And everybody was like, what the heck is he doing? And it worked. And I thank you for your leadership and your foresight for that. It's been great. We really appreciate it. We're going to miss you, for sure. And Rick,
What did I do?
everything. I love you and appreciate the fact that there are small businesses or smaller, individuals that want to have events in your hotels. You always make it so easy to talk to you and have a conversation. And people feel very thankful that you open doors for them. So thank you for that. I just want to say, I'm just sitting here looking at all of you thinking, God, I've known these guys for a long time. And they're all powerhouses, and I want to just show you my gratitude this morning, just sitting here reflecting. Thank you very much for making us proud.
Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Teal. So Doug, quickly, so with that hotel, that's stated for the convention, how close does it have to be to the convention center? Is it got to be attached, or?
Yeah, I'll give you a broad answer, because it is broad. Ideally, as close as you can make it, and this is not Doug small talk, and this is our client base. Our clients tell us that you could put 5,000 more rooms downtown, a half mile away. It's not going to make you competitive, because your peer set has more rooms within a short distance of the convention center. So that, in my entire career, actually, it's never changed. The closer, the better. They want to use 3 and 4 hotels, not 7 and 8 hotels for their business. And plus, it's easier from a contractual standpoint for them. So that has never changed. It's as close as we can put it.
Okay. So then to my question for probably the three of you. I woke up at that 5:45 Delta flight to Minneapolis that flies over my house, and I had time to relook at it, and I'm impressed and thankful of everything you do, working with charities, helping out the community grow and thrive, and that's all important. But I just need to understand, so we've got our hotel motel tax that takes care of the building and ensured that building was gonna be built. So what maybe I need more understanding is that, all of our buildings are well taken care of, and that's a sign of good management. You go to some towns, you can tell an old convention center and even, newer ones, night and day. So when we have an event, obviously we sell a ticket, we've got vendors. How does that money all work to get to the capital part that ensures that these buildings are going to be Class A looking, whether they're 5 years old or 10 or 30? Someone explained, how does that funding all work? How does the CAA manage all of this, and how is it managed on a ground level? I mean, just looking at a single concert that will draw 10, 12,000, there's a lot of tentacles there. And, maybe it's a question for another day, but that's something that I've always, thought about, is just how does it all work? And that's something as commissioners that, we don't know, but I think that's far more important than having a hotel motel tax to build something. It's the maintaining of those facilities, so.
So, appreciate the question, and it tees up something that I was hoping we'd get to. We are in a very unique situation in West Michigan. Buildings like yours, the Van Andel Arena, DeVos Place, DeVos Performance Hall, and now Acrisure Amphitheater, normally are heavily funded by governmental entities, either directly from the general fund or through some type of tax base. That is normal. That is extremely common. That is not the case here. The CAA has been self-funded through the operations of the facilities, not just for the operation of the buildings, but the maintenance and the capital. I don't know if that's necessarily sustainable. I was shocked that it's been 30 years now almost for the CAA, and we still are sitting on about a $21 million fund. But the buildings are getting older, they're very expensive to maintain and to repair. So long-term funding needs to be part of the CAA's purview moving forward. That being said, specific to pick an event, we've got Dave Matthews tonight at the amphitheater. The lion's share of the revenue that's through ticket sales goes to Dave Matthews, as it should. From a food and beverage perspective, those funds go to the, obviously, that there's cost of goods sold and labor and everything else. We can get to the details there. Contractually, 53% goes to the Convention and Arena Authority. And of that pool, some of that is provided to the promoter as well. So the dollars that flow back to the CAA aren't in the millions per event. They're probably in the tens of thousands per event. The CAA has been really good, in my opinion, about watching those funds and looking for very aggressive, smart management relative to capital spend, maintenance spend. We've got a long-term capital budget that is reviewed on an annual basis, and we probably go out about 10 years. We continue to see that that is still a black number, not a red number. But I think eventually some type of funding needs to be identified for long-term sustenance. In another illustration, we've just went through a significant amount of fundraising within the community, as well as from the public and private sectors, to raise funds for the amphitheater and the soccer stadium. That is not the norm either. Now I'm stepping out of my lane and speaking on behalf of the authority with my board chair to my left, and I probably should have went down this road first.
That would have been wise.
Yes, but I sure would like for the CAA to be a heavy participant in whatever the next thing is, to be able to have a funding source to participate to build these facilities. That is an ideal scenario. So I don't know if that answered your question, Commissioner? Okay. And I'm happy, as you know, I'm happy to sit and have a coffee and go over any event that you want in detail and provide that background.
Yeah, I think we've been fortunate to be profitable over these years and to be able to maintain that reserve of 20 million. So I think it's through, the growth that we've had, the successful concerts, Broadway Theater, the convention center. I mean, it's all those things working, on all cylinders. So I think we are very fortunate. But, we're looking at it every day, so.
Commissioner Feinstein, are you good? Okay. Commissioner Packla, did I see your hand go up next?
Well, if there's more time, I can ask more questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for being here. Always appreciate hearing the updates on our facilities and the operations. Really excited to hear about the innovative approach to the amphitheater with the bike valet, right? I mean, I think one of the big things that we're needing to do as a community is to give the entire facility and operations a lot of grace this year to figure out what works and what we need to modify. Great to hear that as part of the operations, that's built into the work you're doing. I don't know whether the bike valet is going to continue to work, but if it does, that's great. And if it doesn't, that's also great. Let's find a good solution to that. I wanted to highlight the community work that you're doing. I think it's fantastic to have all of the great community connections and the inclusion group, and then ask a question around both the amphitheater and the soccer stadium as new facilities. One of the big conversations we had when we passed the bonds around that, or when we passed the financing around that, was the use of those facilities outside of the sort of scheduled events. The amphitheater has, a window of time where we're bringing in performers to that facility. We've talked about a Christmas market down there and those kinds of experiences. but wondering if you might shed a little bit of light on what kinds of conversations you've been having around structuring some sort of formal conversation about community use, in particular with the soccer stadium, knowing that that's still a ways out in terms of that utility.
So we've got appreciate the question. We've actually got a booking team that is spending a good portion of their time taking a look at, I'll say, non-traditional utilization of those two facilities. So we've got a list of about 20 things that we're exploring, some of them more aggressively than others. Some of them move the needle from a financial perspective. Most of them do not. However, they move the needle from a community engagement perspective and getting people in the building. Specifically, just because it's just been announced, we are hosting a watch party for the last game of the World Cup at the amphitheater.
Awesome.
I would ask you to give it another few days and stay tuned, because we've posted 8,000 tickets and they're gone already. It's a free event. We are assessing sight lines to see what else we can open up. But to me, that's a really good illustration of working with the Sports Commission, working with AC Grand Rapids, and identifying an event that otherwise probably couldn't happen at most other venues, just given the size of the crowd. We have had the Symphony on July 4th with a revival of the Picnic Pops. It was not a free show by the same token. It was much more community-based and family-based, and it was very successful. The crowd was good, but the activation of the amphitheater was quite different. It felt and looked more like a park setting than a concert setting. So I think the Symphony did a really good job with that. They've got 2 more utilizations this summer, and my conversations with them, they've got new leadership, so they're still getting their footing, but my hope is that they see the potential of that opportunity. And it should be noted, they are anticipated to be the primary tenant of the amphitheater. That was in the contract with all parties involved, so it's my hope that that continues on. And yes, I've got a call today with a potential partner relative to the Christmas market. And the idea would be that that would extend not just for the amphitheater, but also for the soccer stadium. I am not looking to do a Christmas market at the amphitheater this December. I needed to get that first year. I appreciate your comment about, hey, we got to figure out how this thing works, really. So for that reason, we're looking at December of '27 for the amphitheater and December of '28 for the soccer stadium. And we work closely right now with the Sports Commission on other activations at the soccer stadium. And part of the, from a domino falling perspective, we needed to get what the MLS Next Pro League requirements are. That, relatively speaking, has only just been set maybe a month or 2 ago in terms of how their schedule is set. So that now is in place, and we're going to be looking at how else we can activate.
Great, yeah, really appreciate that and very impressed with that level of detail.
Thank you.
Also, the closing of Art Prize is at the amphitheater this year.
October 3rd.
Closing ceremonies, so that's significantly free to the community, so.
Commissioner Hallstead.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen, for your ongoing investment in our community. Much appreciated. I have a question. So when you're talking about bringing another hotel in, obviously it brings more rooms and more people. I know when you're scheduling events to come in, like conferences, there's different tiers or levels. Does that fill out the level that we're kind of currently in so that we can bring in still that same size, maybe just a little bit bigger? Or does that boost us up so we can bring in like huge conferences that come in? Would
Yeah.
that cover that?
Yeah, great question, and thank you for that. Good morning. It does a number of things, actually. The thing that gets my team most excited is bringing in 2 events at one time. So if you build, let's just say, as of today, you build a 600-room hotel, our plan is, certainly has to pencil out financially, to have meeting space that's much larger than what a traditional 600-room hotel would have. Part of that reasoning is the ballroom at the convention center is the busiest room in our city. But you go from there to the JW Marriott is the second biggest ballroom. And while that seems big to all of us, it's really not that big. So the design hopefully would incorporate a ballroom that would be the second largest in the city. So that hotel itself should be capable of housing a large convention group. Then we can book another citywide convention on top of that. So now you've maximized all your hotel properties. And that's our goal. Certainly, we want to get a couple of those big mega ones. But hosting two at one time is what really will maximize, I think, our community, our small businesses, and others that benefit from the convention business. So it's gonna serve a lot of purposes. And not to lose business to somebody else. You know, we don't like losing, and doesn't happen often, but they didn't stop. During COVID, those hotels that were already started at construction finished up, and they're done, and they're booking business. That's business that we can get our hands on. So there's a couple scenarios that are going to make it real exciting for us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Womack.
Yes, I want to thank all three of you for your great work and leadership in keeping Grand Rapids vibrant and downtown alive and growing. So I just wanted to start with that. And then I'll start with Rich. As you mentioned, 2025 was one of our best years, and then we had some ticket decline in 2026. What are your projections for 2027? And when you look at a decline, and you do your analysis on why and where do we go from here, just looking at the projections for 2027 and what might be done to raise those ticket sales?
So with the inclusion of the amphitheater in our portfolio, we did anticipate some cannibalization so that concerts would be taken out of the arena and into the amphitheater. So if an artist is out and they decide, hey, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do an amphitheater tour this year. So they go out and play the Sheds. That means when they're back in 2 years and doing an arena tour, they may not play the market where they played the Shed. So there is some factor there. We think that 27 will demonstrate that while there is cannibalization, the overall growth, we anticipated doing 30, 35 shows at the amphitheater. We're going to be closer to 50 when it's all said and done. So we think the overall growth is going to be significant. I think what we've got to do from CAA and a Legends Global perspective is perhaps as it deals specifically with concerts, because that's the sexy stuff and that is what hits our bottom line most aggressively, is to stop looking at the arena and then a different silo of the amphitheater. And we should look at major concerts combined. With that, I'm feeling very bullish about 27. Now, that being said, who do we have? Jack Johnson, speaking with a senior touring person, and they think their pipeline might be a little lesser for 27. We did anticipate first year at the amphitheater, we'd have very strong numbers, a slight decline just because of the second year, and then some growth incrementally thereafter. So I think on the concert front, I continue to feel very, very good about the direction they're headed in. The other piece is, Commissioner, we're coming off some of the best years we've ever had from a concert perspective. So despite what, not so much the CAA, but despite what my Legends Global bosses tell me in terms of you got to have growth on growth on growth on growth, it's tough to expect an 8 to 10% growth rate on something that was the best in 30 years. So I think I think there'll be some leveling with live entertainment, but I think overall the business continues to be very, very strong.
Thank you, and I really appreciate what you said, because I was thinking the same thing. Pretty soon, those numbers should be combined. And just enjoy sitting on the CIG with you, seeing your intentionality of making sure it's inclusive. We get as many people coming downtown, and the tickets that are given to the nonprofits that was mentioned, that's just great at giving people and young people an experience at different type of talents and music and entertainment that they might not have tasted otherwise if they didn't get a free taste of that. And those nonprofits are doing good as your boots on the ground, including community. A question for either Rick or Doug when it comes to, there was talk about building a 355 million, 600 room hotel downtown, and some people talked about building on either top of DeVos Place or behind it. Has there been any more conversations of where a 600-room hotel would go in Grand Rapids?
Well, as Doug said, it's close, ideally to be attached to the convention center. So how close we can find a site. The original plan did show a possibility on top of the existing meeting space, I don't know if you recall.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
still a
I'll make it that.
possibility, so that's one we're analyzing, or they're analyzing to get us pricing out.
And that would help with bringing conferences and business conferences here to Grand Rapids?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. So, once again, just thanks for all of your work, and we'll continue to support as much as we can. And thank you for your visions.
We're going to wrap up with, Al has a couple comments. If you guys do have any additional questions on this presentation, Al and I both serve on the CAA board, and we're happy to get you answers to any of your questions. Go ahead, Al.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess my main question is, do you have an update for the board on efforts to develop off-site parking?
So we continue to work with the city relative to the Butterworth site. I think with some of the, we're probably, at one point, we had talked about potentially breaking ground this year. We're probably looking at next year. I think some of the costs have come in, or some of the bids. We still need to work through some elements with the city on the Butterworth site, and some mitigation efforts that may be required might impact costs. I realize that's a lot of maybes and mights.
Yeah.
And that's why we're not going to be breaking ground this year.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate you and everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
So then we will move on to our second presentation this morning from the Gerald R. Ford International Airport Authority. Welcome to Tori.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here this morning. Like the last presentation, we have a lot of information in the slide deck, so if you see something in there that you want to talk about more detail, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to do that. I will try to touch on each of the slides fairly quick, though, just to give you an update on what's happening here. So we are celebrating this month 10 years as the airport authority. So here's a photo from 11 years ago when the county and state legislation was signed, creating the Gerald R. Ford International Airport Authority. And then 1 year later, July 1st, 2016, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, approved all the transactions and issued our air carrier operating certificate. We continue to have a great leadership based on the individuals that you appoint to our board. So you can see the 7 members here. Each of these are appointed by the full commission with 3-year staggered terms. If you recall, no more than 3 can be elected officials. Those 2 individuals at this point are Commissioner Burrell and Commissioner Merchant. And then also through that state legislation, at least 1 member has to be an individual representing an area outside of Kent County, and that's Pete Buikema down in the bottom row there, representing basically the shoreline, hospitality, retail, and so forth. But each come to us with different perspectives, different business disciplines, and help guide the leadership and the direction of the authority. So second largest airport in Michigan, I will say prior to the pandemic, fastest growing, during the pandemic, fastest recovering, since the pandemic, fastest growing again in Michigan, 3,200 acres of land, $7.7 billion of annual economic impact to our region. That's primarily through over 100 different businesses located on our campus with over 2,500 direct jobs. If you break that out into that much larger West Michigan region, we're supporting 40,000 jobs. You can see the $7.7 billion of economic impact and where those regions are that we're measuring from. We do update this annual economic impact about every 3 to 5 years based on what is happening. We have 9 commercial carriers, so 8 of those commercial airlines are passenger. 1 is cargo, FedEx. You can see the listing here. Right now, we have 7 different carriers with almost 2,000 flights, so 30 nonstop destinations for the month of July. Here's the route map. You can see it's nice, full. Always continue to work on that West Coast service and trying to get more dots on the map over there. But as we look at our trends, you can see from, basically 2020 back into 2025, year-over-year growth again. Last year was another record year. Year-to-date, we're up about 0.5%, which is on the good side of the scale. Most of my colleagues are either flat or down. We are up to flat, so on the right side of that. In terms of the airlines and their health, I like to see this pie chart pretty evenly distributed. So we have a nice distribution of market share amongst the airlines. In situations where you don't have that, you've got one dominant carrier that demands, restrictions on access, restrictions on pricing, and reduced competition. Here, we're very fortunate with that very equal distribution amongst our top. You can see Delta, American, Allegiant, United, Southwest, Frontier, then Avelo, and then Sun Country through the summer months, which we'll be reporting in the next month. So nice distribution there. Always looking at how competitive are we. Far right-hand side is the U.S. average at $401. We're in the gold bar there at $410. I always say it's nice to be either at, or I would even suggest slightly above the national average. That means that the airline is generating some profit or premium in your market. However, that's also a very competitive stance for making sure that you've got great air service and great airfares for your passengers to choose from. So in a nice mix there. Our board's always focused on how are we innovative, award-winning, and fun. So on the award-winning side, here you can see lots of awards that we receive. Sometimes it's for, valor. It might be for our reporting for financials, the cleanest restrooms, the most engaged staff. Lots of different areas that we see our staff doing great work and being recognized in the industry for the work that they're doing. And then also Best Annual Report was the most recent one, 3 years in a row, just sharing with the community the stuff that we're doing, the impact that we have, and what we're trying to do to align with the community. On the innovative side, we are now through 9 rounds of our Ford Launchpad for Innovative Technology and Entrepreneurship. That program is really the test bed for other businesses that are bringing innovative technology and services that can enhance the guest experience, improve operational efficiency. They're able to do that in a live environment at our airport to test their products and their services, make sure that they're ready for marketability to scale, working out any of the little quirks that they might have with their projects before they're actually deploying them. So it's been a great opportunity to get businesses involved in the airport and testing their products, and for us to have a firsthand view and some input on how those products should be developed. Of course, I can't come down here and not share what's going on with the capital side, right? So lots of projects underway. Program Elevate, just for a quick highlight, 6 major transformational and expansion projects. Each of these well over $100 million each. The bottom one in the dark border, the Concourse A expansion, is the first of the 6 to be complete. You can see there's 2 green, upper right, consolidated rental car facility, which is underway, actually opens to the public tomorrow. And then the terminal enhancement, kind of the lower left, that project is underway, opens in another year. We'll talk about each of those a little bit more. The 2 that are in the yellow shaded box borders there, Federal Inspection Station and relocation of Air Traffic Control Tower, those are 2 projects that are underway, more or less in the design stage, environmental, some of those areas, not necessarily in the construction phase. Both of those are dependent on federal partnerships, so with the FIS, that needs Customs and Border Protection engagement, and with the relocation of the Air Traffic Control Tower, of course, that is the Federal Aviation Administration and needing to get to procurement for that project. And then up in the upper left, the red border, north parking lot, that is a project that is dependent on the Air Traffic Control Tower relocation, so that project can't proceed until we get the tower moved. So a little quick background on each of these. So the consolidated rental car facility, or the ConRac, again, opens up tomorrow. Here you're looking at, on the left-hand side, the customer service building and the walkway going over to that, so it's one seamless transition. The picture on the right is as you walk into that customer service building, you can see the different rental car companies there, as well as 4 stories of artwork from a local artist in there. Great event. Some of you were out there last week when we did kind of a quiet ribbon cutting for that. Again, opens to the public tomorrow. Some of the other spaces that you might not see on the left are the areas for the quick turn area, or the QTA. So this was a complicated project where we've got multiple levels of car wash, fueling, vacuuming, et cetera. So this is the first in the state for a consolidated rental car facility. That's some of the background area for the rental car operators. And then again, on the right-hand side, also alleviating one of our pain points, which was not enough commercial and passenger pickup and drop-off area along the terminal curb. So overhang there and additional curb and space for pickup and drop-off. Terminal enhancement project is happening on the west side of the building, so the area in yellow is more or less the public spaces, that also extension of our curb access point, but also the ticket lobby and the ticketing area. The area behind and below in blue is the baggage makeup area, so for the airlines, for the TSA, for screening, for sortation, all that's going to happen in those 2 levels, and then the upper level is administrative office space. Again, just why are we doing this? This is the current configuration. We basically have 4 different areas for ticketing, split by 2 different areas for TSA baggage screening, and then 2 different baggage makeup areas. Somewhat confusing for the passenger when you've got, all of these different elements scattered amongst the same, front space of the terminal, if you will. So when we're done, more seamless operation with all ticketing and outbound activity happening on one side, all inbound activity taking place on the other. So phase 2 would be once the airlines are out of the, I'll say the east end of the building, we will go back in and modify that to expand the baggage claim area, which is another one of those master plan deficiencies that we're addressing with this project. This is what it looks like today inside the expanded space. You can see the self-service kiosks, the bag drop area, and the ribbon wall, which will be populated with all the different airlines so that passengers know exactly which kiosk to use for their particular airline. This is looking from the parking garage over to, again, some of that additional overhang for the pickup drop-off lanes. And then on the right-hand side, all that baggage handling. We'll be the first in the U.S. to have a fully automated inline baggage handling system using this ICS, or individual carrier system. So very cool. There's a couple international locations, but we'll be the first one in the U.S. As we look at the Federal Inspection Station, phase 1 is complete on the left-hand side. Phase 2 is a project that we have underway right now. We'll be completing a second baggage claim area. Again, from the prior slide, you heard me say that we've got some expansion that has to happen with our baggage claim. This will address some of it. We can't get to phase 3, which is all of the international processing, until we get Customs and Border Protection engagement on the project. They're unable to do that right now with their staffing shortfall. They're in the midst of hiring 5,000 officers, and so once those officers are on board, then would be able to allocate staff for our project. As we look at the air traffic control tower, again, the relocation project, you can see the current tower up towards the top, the new tower location in the center of the screen there. Everything is done for that, the siting, the environmental, all of that is complete. We've completed some additional site work, moving some of the control cables and infrastructure over to the new site, so it is essentially shovel-ready, and waiting for the FAA to release that for procurement. Here's some of our challenges with the line of sight issue with the existing tower. So we need additional close-in covered parking. This is the parking garage today. You can see it stair-step down with the tower kind of pointed right there in the middle, just barely peeking over the parking garage. Unfortunately, we need more space. That lot that you see in the foreground is the space for additional parking. What we need is a 6-level structure adjoining the existing structure and gateway exit plaza. Unfortunately, that space that we need could only be developed at about 3 levels, meaning we'd have to come in, build on top of and all the way around that facility at some point in the future when the towers move. So holding off on that. In the meantime, we've built additional expansion on the surface lot, and with the consolidated rental car facility opening, we're getting about 700 spaces out in the parking garage to translate over to public parking. Also, some things you'll notice when you're out there, we're going through a campus wayfinding signage improvement project, so you'll see some signs down, some new ones being constructed. That should all happen and be complete by the end of the summer. And then we're also installing some solar panels on Concourse B. These solar panels will be just basically offsetting some of our use. They're not going to be charge and store and reuse later. It's basically just offsetting some of the use that we've got. And again, our board likes us to be fun. So on the fun side, the community engagement, doing lots of things with the guests that we have out there. So annual Passenger Appreciation Day, live music, giving out some swag, some book signings, some other things that are just fun for the passengers. Our ability to show some appreciation. We partner with Mid-Michigan Honor Flight, had probably the largest honor flight event this year that we've ever seen, which was really cool. But again, for those men and women to be able to go into DC, some of those memorials, just and witness the ability to see those firsthand, recognizing their work is really powerful and very cool for us to be able to do. Jerry the Jet makes several appearances throughout the year, lots of different schools, in this case, West Michigan Aviation Academy right there on campus. But we also have colleges and other schools that come out to the airport just to see what's happening at the airport, get a better sense of what's happening with airlines, airport operations, and some of our international processing. Then I welcome you out every Wednesday through August. We'll have food trucks out at the viewing park, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. every single day, a big hit. Lots of folks come out there for that. Operation Handshake later this year, again, welcoming our military men and women back for the holidays. And then later this year, you'll also have the holiday lighting, which again will come down here for the engagement with the community downtown, and just again showing some of the stuff that we do at the airport. We also have our annual Holiday Music Festival that really ends the year, bringing out a number of different choirs from the local schools just to come out and perform holiday music out in the Grand Hall area, and really a big hit. Lots of folks come out there to see that. Lots of parents, proud parents out there taking pictures of their students. So with that, happy to take any questions or comments.
Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Tori, for being here. Thank you for making this your home and your, everything you do for the community. So I just got two questions, then one larger question. So first of all, so on the rental car facility, revenue to pay for the building, obviously they pay rental to have their cars there. Have you found that when the rental car agencies decided to make the investment here, that this is going to be their lone location serving Grand Rapids or not?
So not necessarily because of that level of investment, but that level of investment mirrors where their focal point is, meaning most of their passengers, most of their customers are coming through the facility, traveling in, and so they want to be there to catch those. Will it be their only location? Likely not, and that's fine. So we do have clauses within our leases with each one of them that says, for instance, if you're company ABC and you've got a location at the airport and you have another location off-site, you can't use the off-site location to come out and do business underneath the other rental car companies, so there's a level playing field. But there will be some that have more than one location on airport and off.
Is there a fee that's going to be charged on the bill that goes to the airport?
That's a part of the existing agreement today, and that's pretty typical with rental cars, whether there's a consolidated rental car facility or just a rental car operation across the U.S., yeah.
Okay, then the second one, so airlines, I don't fly a lot, but I've flown enough to see some things. So having lived here all my life, it was always, we're the end of the cul-de-sac, you're not a pass-through airport and on and on. And that's a tough thing to beat back. But the investments that you and your team have made in there and what it looks like today is just remarkable. And I think the passengers enjoy it. My question is do the airlines enjoy it? Because I'm still flying on one specific airline where it's still the old RJ jets, and I've been told that, yeah, they're going to be getting newer ones in, but it just doesn't seem like the amount of passengers and what we've done for that airport, for these airlines, that the commitment isn't there from the airlines. Is that just a bad assumption by me?
No, I think it's a good observation. It's a little bit different, though, in terms of what we're able to do and what we're trying to do with modernizing the facility, looking for our future growth. We're planning 40 years out, so everything that we're doing is very consistent with a master plan that tells us where we need to build space, how we need to utilize the space, and how we're going to invest in it. On the airline side, it's a little bit different. When they have those airplane assets, they're looking at utilizing those the best that they can. In some cases, that might mean taking a larger airplane to a larger market. In some cases, it's maybe taking that larger airplane to a smaller market based on what they can generate for revenue. So, and it's a trade-off for us on the airport side in terms of, do you want one or two very large flights and giving basically one or two times to make a connection, or do you want multiple smaller airplanes but more frequency so that you can get business passengers multiple options throughout the day to get to wherever they need to go? It's always a balancing act. The airlines are looking at it more from the operational in terms of what they can generate from revenue for that airplane and making sure that that airplane's in the right market to generate that. So we'll continue to see a little bit of a mix in our environment, but most of the flights, because of the expansion stuff that you've seen as a demonstration, most of the flights have gone from what used to be small, very regional, 35 to 55 seat airplanes. Now we're in the 70, 90, and 200 plus seat airplanes. So the airlines have basically invested in larger airplanes in our market, but it's not completely like all of the regional traffic is gone and it's all going to mainline. That hasn't happened and probably not likely to happen in our market. We are a nice mix of the right size for them to do both.
Okay, then just my final question, and you touched on it here briefly, where you're planning 40 years out. So my life, I've been more happy not watching the political side of the news, but watching the business. And I always would ask questions of people what the long term is, but watching a young man called Elon Musk and his dreams of how we travel, and they're coming up with these taxis that can land downtown and fly out to the airport to drop people off. Where are you at on these fast-moving trends on how we get to A to B, even if it's a short distance? And if we had those taxi drones or whatever they call them at seat 4, where would they land at the airport and any other?
Yeah, so in part of our master planning, we're addressing some of those issues, and it's really going to depend on what type of fuel that they're going to use, what the weight-bearing capacities are. In some cases, people are looking at, parking garages and things like that being potentially some of those structures. So we're looking at it. The technology is evolving very quickly. The certification process that it takes to get through and actually put those into commercial use and viable commercial use takes a lot longer. So while we're seeing developments, and those are encouraging, very positive, the reality of all of those hitting the market and being sort of the mainstream and seeing a lot of that developing is probably much further out. And again, you're going to have an operator that's willing to provide that service. So once the technology's there, the vehicle is there, who's going to buy and operate those, and in what markets will they deploy them? We'll probably see that later in that stage. You're going to see probably high metro areas, large cities try to tackle that and do that successfully before they deploy it at some of the other outside markets.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Chair. Last week I had to fly out to GRR.
You had to?
I did. And I was so impressed. I thought, I wouldn't mind getting stuck in this airport right here overnight. Thank you very much for sharing your leadership and your experience with us here and making all the different expansions that need to happen. I'm really appreciative of your leadership, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I did see D. Jones, too.
Commissioner Womack.
Thank you once again for everything that's happening at the airport. I visited recently to grab a car for the weekend, and it's just beautiful how it's expanded, and it was a lovely experience seeing a lot of the new things out there. One of my questions, when I moved back from New York, at one point I lived on Burger Street in Cascade, so I got a lot of friends out there still. And one of their concerns is the PFAS. And there was a lawsuit, I guess, but that was dropped by the state because they said the federal should be more kind of oversee some of that. So the airport and the county, nobody else had to pay to get that PFAS fixed. But how is that coming from a lot of they said it came from firefighters' foams from, many years ago seeped into the soil. What are the updates when it comes to PFAS and environmental issues, and how are we looking at in the future to keep people protected in those areas?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And it is under existing litigation right now, so the lawsuit has not been dropped. We're still actively defending that. But in terms of the transition, so the FAA has recently approved 3 different types of foam that can be used that are, I will say, less abrasive than the PFAS-containing foams, but all of the foams for firefighting are going to have some level of hazard associated with them. So we treat them all as a hazardous release, regardless of what type of foam we're using. But we are in the transition process right now with our new trucks that are being brought online to put the new foam in those new trucks because they're not compatible. You can't mix the 2 foams, and you can't mix one foam in the truck and switch it and then put a new foam in it because it doesn't react properly. So we're in that process of transition. It is an evolving situation nationwide, though.
Yes.
We are unfortunately on the front end of this with the state suing the airport authority over it. We are the first case in the U.S. where the state is coming after an airport for those alleged discharges, which we had to do to comply with the FAA.
Are there any committees or task force or representatives for neighborhood associations and neighbors who want to keep up with what's going on with the environmental side of the airport?
Yeah,
Who
we
should
do.
they contact?
I would say we do a pretty good job keeping that information up to date on our website. There are a lot of different test projects out there. We have been piloting a couple of different ones. In fact, last week, we had a number of folks, to include Eagle from our state, out looking at different types of remediation processes that can be put in place to help remediate this. And again, we like to see us as the test bed, so this can be deployed in other places, but also if it works, we can use it as well. So we've done several different test projects, pilot projects with the universities in the state, with the environmental folks, and so there is collaboration from that perspective, and how do we work together to make sure we've got a safe, healthy, clean environment.
Okay, thank you very, very much.
Yep.
Okay, I have no one else in my queue, so thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
We appreciate all your work. Commissioners, if you do have any additional questions, Commissioner Merchant and Commissioner Burrow would be happy to find those answers for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, that takes us on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion for our consent agenda this morning? Moved by Chair Green, supported by Commissioner Halsted. Questions or comments on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to our single action item this morning from the Community Action Appropriation of Area Agency of Aging West Michigan funding for home renewal for seniors program.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $100,000 from the Area Agency on Aging of Western Michigan to the FY26 Community Development Fund budget for the Home Renewal for Seniors program, and authorize the board chair or designee to execute any necessary agreements and related documents, approve extensions, amendments, and increases not to exceed 15% of the original award. AAA West Michigan has committed $100,000 in funding to support Kent County Community Action's Home Renewal for Seniors program for 26-27 program period. Home Renewal for Seniors program assists low-income older adults in Kent County with essential home repairs and accessibility modifications that improve safety, housing stability, and the ability to age in place. AAA West Michigan contribution will serve as the grant portion of project financing and will be combined with federal Home Investment Partnership Program funding administered by KCCA. Through this partnership, a total of $500,000 in program funding will be available to assist eligible older adults with critical home rehab projects. Kent County Community Action will administer the program, including eligibility determination, project management, contractor oversight, and compliance with federal requirements. AAA of West Michigan will serve as a funding partner and collaborate on outreach and referrals to ensure eligible older adults are aware of and able to access the program. Assistant Corporate Counsel review and approve as to form.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Sparks. Is there support? Supported by Vice Chair Hildebrand. Questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments this morning? Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you. When an item's on consent agenda, I don't want to comment to keep the thing going, but the East End Gateway, green space, that's been talked about for a long time. I think if you have lived here long enough to see the transition of 28th Street as the businesses all moved to the east, you look at the end of 28th Street, which is a major corridor, just looks outstanding. And the further you get to the west, Wyoming and Granville, it needs a little help. Hopefully, this is a shot in the arm. Like I said, it's it's a substantial investment for the city of Granville, but it's also an investment on, what the community looks like. So, thank you.
Any other commissioner comments this morning? Okay, the chair has asked me to let you all know that we are going to start our work session in about 5 minutes, so we will adjourn this meeting and begin that one here shortly. And with that, we are adjourned.